Hey there everyone, how's it going? Before we get into the video, I just wanted to let you guys know that this video was meant to come out earlier in the season, but my PC broke down on me, and I had to wait for a new one to be shipped. I was already done with the recording part and had just started on the editing when it happened. Fortunately, none of my save was corrupted. So instead of just scrapping this video, I decided to keep it as is, and just add this part in, and one more part at the end, seeing if my initial impressions of the season still stand. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you again at the end of the video. Alright, this season looks insane! Spy X Family, or Spy Family. You know what? I'm going to make a controversial hot take here. I know it is pronounced Spy Family, but the X is there! It would be rude to not include the X. It's kind of like that one awkward kid in school people would ignore just because they were too nervous to talk to anyone. And they really just wanted someone to include them in their games and acknowledge that they are there. So yeah, I'm including the X. So as I was saying, Spy X Family got its anime adaptation sooner than I expected. One of my favorite underrated anime in Ascendance of a Bookworm got a season 2. Also, Shield Hero and Kaguya-sama got their respective sequels. Oh, I almost forgot, Komi-san also got her sequel as well. And there are just so many good seasonal anime coming out on top of that. I really don't know how I'm going to make time to watch all of them, but gosh darn it, I will find a way. Even if it means I have to destroy the world to give myself more free time to watch them all. Little did I know that would be my villain origin story. How's it going, everyone? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm AMS, and today I want to go over some of the shows I've been watching this anime season and give my thoughts on them. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. First, let's start with the hands down best anime of the season with Spy X Family. I have been hyping up an anime adaptation for over a year now and it has not disappointed. The animation is flawless, the voices are what I pictured they would be while reading the manga. Well, sort of. I thought Anya's voice might sound a little older, but it's not a big deal. The only real criticism that I have with the anime is that they made it too soon. I can guess where the first season will end, and what makes it worse is that Spy X Family is a bi-weekly series. And that is if the writer doesn't take time off. There are like 60 something chapters out right now, and the first season could cover like the first 20 or 30 chapters, and that's me being modest. So don't expect a sequel immediately because there's barely enough material to even cover it. The story follows a spy by the name of Twilight who was given a mission to get married, have a kid, and have them enroll into a prestigious academy to get close to a major political figure from an opposing country. He then ends up adopting a daughter who is a psychic and can read minds. Then he ends up meeting a woman who asks him to pretend to be her boyfriend, so her brother will stop worrying about her. He agrees on the condition that she pretends to be his wife for the school interview. So they create this impromptu family to achieve their own goals. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. She is also an assassin who needs to fake a relationship to seem less suspicious. The manga is honestly really good, but also pretty short as of this moment, so I wouldn't mind a couple of filler scenes just to extend the series a little, as long as the anime doesn't get too creative with it. Like, they could add some stuff, as long as it doesn't change the character's personality or even how the audience perceives them in retrospect to the canon material. Also, Yor, the assassin I mentioned earlier, best waifu of the season. No doubt about it. Her and Kitagawa from Dress Up Darling are in contention for the best waifu of the year. And honestly, I placed Yoda as one of my top waifus of all time, so it's going to be difficult to convince me that any future waifu will surpass her. Okay, so Spy X Family is the best anime this season, but despite it having a major emphasis on the comedy aspect, it's honestly not the funniest anime that's coming out right now. The title for funniest anime this season is easily Don't Hurt Me, My Healer. This series is literally Don't Bully Me Nagato in a fantasy setting. It starts out with our protagonist Alvin the warrior fighting against a bear with a rhinoceros horn. As he's being beaten back, a wandering dark elf named Carla shows up, declares that she is a healer, and asks if he needs help. He of course gets really happy that a healer just so happened to show up when he was in need of aid, and asks her to heal him. Then Carla pulls a TikTok trend and reveals the reason she became a healer. She tells Alvin that if he wants to be healed, he needs to get on his knees and beg. Yep, we got a sadistic healer from the get-go. But wait, it gets worse. After asking the rhino bear to give him a moment, Alvin goes and gets into a huge argument with Carla. She eventually agrees to heal him, but it was taking so long to cast the spell that Alvin got impatient and yelled at her. And instead of healing him, she cursed him to die if he goes more than 300 meters away from her. So a healer had the ability to curse someone. Yeah, that is definitely not suspicious. Don't worry, this isn't the most ominous thing she does this episode. After they get into this massive argument, the rhino bear gets between them and tells them that maybe they both are in the wrong. And then both Alvin and Carla are like, what? Why is this bear talking? Turns out when monsters or animals live a really long time, they can learn to speak the common tongue. After mediating between the two, Alvin and Carla stop fighting and become the best of friends. For like a second and then go back to arguing. After their like 100 argument in the first 10 minutes of the series, Alvin stated that Carla was making this wise old man's words go to waste, and the rhino bear got really mad and yelled, "I am a woman!" and slapped Alvin so hard that he flew out of his armor. He then woke up in the bear's home and heard that Carla healed him. Emphasis on the hurt because we can't prove she actually healed him, especially since when we saw her, she was wearing an all-white gown with a headband surrounded by candles, and next to her was a voodoo doll with a bunch of nails hammered into it. So did she heal him or just put another curse on him? Once again, not even the most honest thing she does in the series. In another episode, she offered to summon a low-tier monster to help them in combat, and she pulls out a mini Narlelethetep, who is an evil god from the H.P. Lovecraft mythos. At this point, it feels like she received her power from an evil being or something. Also, this is a small joke that they do at the beginning and end of every episode. But the character will do the outro and preview after the end credits, and they will make fun of light novels and TV shows with really long names, telling you what the entire story is about, by having a really long title that tells you what the next episode is going to be about. And after seeing this, you think, oh, they are making fun of shows and books with really long titles. It looks like a joke at first, but then the next episode starts, and we see a bunch of Japanese kanji just zipping past the bottom of the screen, and only the first sentence was translated, which was the title of the episode from the preview. When I saw this, I laughed my ass off because I instantly pictured the translator going, fuck no, I'm not translating all this. It moves way too fast for anyone to read anyway, so screw it. So they were actually giving us the full title of the episode in the preview. I really couldn't believe it. I laughed way too hard at this. It wasn't even that funny, I just couldn't believe they did that. Especially since the show itself has a really short title. Anyways, funniest anime this season definitely goes to Don't Hurt Me, My Healer. Now, for the best isekai, I have to give it to Skeleton Knight in Another World. Now, the reason I consider this to be the best is for two reasons. First, the other two that I could rate higher are sequels, and that would be unfair to pitch 20-something episodes to a 13-episode series. The second is that it looks like writers are starting to go away from the whole make it into an isekai just to call it an isekai trend that has been going on for like the past 3 or 4 years now, maybe even longer. The animes coming out this season are heavily emphasizing the fantasy aspect of their story rather than the isekai aspect, where the MC has all this knowledge from our world. There is a show I will discuss later on in the video which really shows how well a non-isekai fantasy can be done while still maintaining the OP protagonist trope. So like I was saying, this season has about 4 or 5 isekais and half of them are sequels. So in terms of new isekais, Skeleton Knight is the best one. Despite it being the best of the season so far, it has been a disappointment. We got the OP protagonist that is to be expected from a series like this, but when every episode begins with, warning, this show contains scenes that most viewers will find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. You expect a dark show, right? And that point gets emphasized with the first episode opening up with a rape scene. Obviously, looking at the show's premise, the hero was going to show up and save the lady before any unrepairable damages were done. But you would expect the woman to still be scared and cautious of a man, especially after being held down and stripped by multiple men. But no, she instantly forgot that happened and started checking out this bulky knight in front of her. No fear or trauma showing on her face. This happens again when the hero saves a bunch of kids who were kidnapped, abused, and about to be sold into slavery. And afterwards, they were all cheery and happy playing games like nothing even happened. Outside of the lack of psychological trauma, I was expecting this show to be more comedic. When you give me an undead holy knight, I am expecting there to be more situations where he's acting like it's normal for a knight to walk around without a helmet, forgetting he is a skeleton. And the people start off as being scared, only to get used to him being undead, and start treating him normally unless they get startled by him. Then they freak out and run away screaming that a monster showed up. But the story instead is focusing on him keeping his identity as a secret, and going on adventure quests. Also, it's unfortunate that the funniest part of the show so far is the opening. The music plus sound effects happening at the same time, along with the character acting like he's a badass, is the best part of the show so far. Despite all of the criticism, it's still enjoyable to watch, and it seems like they are saving the more entertaining parts for later with all of the setup they are doing. Okay, I had to edit this in afterwards because I screwed up. There were 2 other shows that could be considered isekais that I missed when I first recorded this video. One is for sure an isekai, while the other is more time travel, but I still consider it an isekai. I'll explain why when I start talking about that show. But they are both better than Skeletal Knight. The first is trapped in a dating sim, and I had this on my list before the season came out, because it reminded me of New Life as a Villainess. Unfortunately, when the season started, I completely forgot about it despite me going back and counting all the isekais coming out this season. I saw it and counted it, but I didn't even consider watching it, which surprised me, especially since it was on my radar. I think it's because it reminded me of Villainess, and that show wasn't the greatest. It was average in terms of comedic anime, but I still didn't think about watching it, probably due to the fact that there were other shows out there that I wanted to check out more than it, so my mind subconsciously ignored it. That is until I saw people talking about it on Twitter, and then I remembered that I wanted to see it, and I ended up binge watching all of the episodes in one sitting. Now, this show is about a dude whose little sister forced him to play this incredibly difficult dating sim and 100% it for her. The only reason he agreed to do it was because she had some dirt on him, so he cleared it, And man, the story was apparently shit, the combat was pay to win, and the characters were annoying. He spent several days no-lifing this game just so his sister wouldn't tell their mom his secret, and it resulted with him losing consciousness as he was walking down the stairs, and he tumbled down and ended up dying from the fall. He then woke up in the video game world where he was mistreated by his father's wife, who was a noble. In this world, women held all the power, excluding the game's conquerable male characters as well as the king. Other than that, women are in control, so his stepmom wants to marry him off to some crooked noble lady, who has had several husbands, all of whom had died within a year of their marriage. So she was clearly a Black Widow, a woman who marries men and kills them for their insurance money. When he refused to marry her, his stepmom says she'll just enlist him in the military, so he can go to war and die. Seeing as how his stepmom just wants to send him off to his death, our protagonist, Leon Barford, decided that instead of just going along with her will, he would rather seek out this legendary pay-to-win item he bought in his previous life. He knew where it was stored, so he risked his life to clear a legendary dungeon to get this powerful mech suit and collect a mountain of treasure, allowing him to be promoted to a lower noble and be free from his stepmother's influence. No, you did not mishear me. He got a mech suit. No, this series is not a sci-fi fantasy. It's still a typical isekai fantasy setting with magic, but there are also mech suits. I did tell you the game had poor writing, remember? But it works out for the story. Since there is both magic and mech battles, you don't have to worry about getting bored with the typical magical battles. Now there are typical mecha suit battles as well. So now that he became a noble, he had to enter into the Magic Academy and hopefully find a wife of equal or greater status. But seeing as how he is a backwater country noble, he was just dissed and rejected and mistreated by all of the women in the academy, except by the game's female protagonist, who's not a noble. She's just attending on scholarship due to her having extraordinary magical powers. Now, Leon notices something unusual. The female protagonist, Olivia, isn't going through her typical events with the conquerable male characters. Some other girl is. And Leon at first doesn't really care, he's just focusing on trying to find a wife. That is the main premise of the series, but it just continues to evolve with each episode. There are more layers added the deeper we go into the story, so despite him just trying to fulfill his duty as a noble and find a wife, other stuff keeps happening around him. And honestly, Leon is one of my favorite protagonists from this season. I feel it's because a lot of us can relate to him and not just me. He put up with BS for most of his life, and he eventually just got tired of it and went on to prove that he could do so much more than what others were saying he could do. He is a character who doesn't let gender norms or society dictate how he should live his life. This, at least for me, drew me into the character and caused me to support him even when he was making poor choices in the grand scheme of things. At the moment, they seemed like they were the right thing to do, but his actions will carry severe consequences in the future. Once you see that he's just tired of dealing with BS, so he's going against everything and doing his own thing, it's really hard to not just want to see him succeed. It's honestly so well written, it doesn't need comedy to draw me in. The whole going against society outline for how you should live your life was absolutely awe-inspiring. The second anime that I had missed, which was also brought to my attention through Twitter, was Ya Boy Coming. Now, unlike Trapped in a Dating Sim, Ya Boy Coming was not on my radar. I had never heard of this series until I saw it on Twitter. Then I looked it up and the premise looked interesting, so I tried to find it and no streaming service that I own had it. So I ended up not watching it for weeks and weeks until I saw more people saying that this was probably the best show of this season and the music was absolutely amazing and really catchy. I ended up having to watch it on some sketchy site, and I had never been so mad at myself for not knowing about a series as I was after finishing that first episode. One episode is all it took for me to fall in love with the series. You'll see why in just a moment. Ya Boy Kongming is about a famous Chinese strategist from the Three Kingdoms period named Zhu Liang Kongming. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. So Kongming passed away and reincarnated into modern day Japan. He then fell in love with this girl, Eiko's singing. He then swore to make her dream come true and allow her music to bring salvation to the whole world, just like she brought him salvation when he first reincarnated there and thought he was in hell. He just so happened to be reincarnated on Halloween night with everyone wearing costumes and getting drunk. He thought the people in costumes were the denizens of hell and tequila was the boiling waters of hell burning his innards. What makes this even better is that he was in his full strategist getup, so everyone just thought it was a Kongming costume. He then went to a club where they were blasting loud music, which he thought was meant to torture him. Then this girl came up on stage and started singing this beautiful song, and he was entranced by it. We later find out that this girl is not very popular and has been struggling to get some decent gigs. She primarily works as a bartender for the club and sings because the manager believes in her talent and gives her the opportunity to perform every night. Kongming falls in love with the music and offers to help her out, but first he has to get accustomed to modern day life. This entire series was absolutely beautiful, from the costume designs, animation, choreography, and of course the music. I was really disappointed with the soundtracks this season. There were no good opening or endings that I had heard until this series. Both the opening and ending are hands down the top 2 tracks of the season, maybe even the whole year. Despite it only being May and we still have 2 more seasons worth of anime to go. But you know what? I'm sticking with this comment. Best of the year, okay? There was also the music within the show. They were amazing as well, despite some of them having conversations going on at the same time as them. Still, the music is absolutely beautiful. I can't help but being drawn in each episode. Not just with Eiko singing, but all of the music in general. And the choreography for the dances look spectacular as well. Even though we only see them for a couple of scenes, because remember, this is more like what happens if a historically famous Chinese strategist gets isekai'd into our modern time. Even though it's more of a time travel thing instead of an isekai, but you know what? The time periods are so different, it might as well be a new world. So I will still consider this an isekai, despite it not being categorized as one. Anyways, these are the two shows I wanted to add into the video. And in terms of new anime, they are the best from this season. And I almost didn't include them. I have just one anime on my rate higher than them at this point. But that is just because it's a sequel that I have been hyped for. I will talk about it later in the video. But I genuinely don't know which of these three I like more. This is more of a wait and see how the season goes before I make a decision type of thing. So let's just return back to the original video. Another good isekai that a lot of people have been hyped for is the second season of Shield Hero. Now personally, the new season started the same way the first one ended. As a disappointment. Now Fumi went from this revenge-obsessed edgelord to a coddling goody-goody. It was made worse when I learned that the anime changed a lot of things from the light novel. Now Fumi's actions in the light novel made more sense, while the anime left me confused about some of the decisions he made, especially during the trial and punishment scene. Also, the other heroes are just annoying. They are not the type of characters that we love to hate that you would typically see from this type of series. It may have started out that way, but now Fumi kept one-upping them and making them look dumb, and they just never learn or develop. It's starting to seem like the anime and light novels are two different stories just because the characters act one way, screw up, realize that they screwed up, and leading us to believe they are learning something, only for them to revert back to their previous personality like they didn't grow and develop at all. It's also really annoying to see the protagonist change so severely near the end just because the anime wanted to make Naofumi into a good person. The series made less and less sense as Naofumi grew and matured. Don't get me wrong, I like seeing a character learn to forgive others, but the way it happened with Naofumi always felt unnatural. I overlooked it at first until I learned what had happened in the light novel. If you want to know what happened, look up Shield Hero cut content. There are several videos on it out there. I'll leave a link in the description to Andy News' video on this. His videos are the ones I primarily use for cut content and character analysis. So go ahead and subscribe to his channel if you want to know more about Shield Hero. Anyways, the anime changed Naofumi's character just because they didn't want Naofumi to look like a bad guy. Despite him showing signs of not trusting others, he's still going out of his way to help them, throwing caution to the wind and acting without considering the possibility of him being used or betrayed again. So honestly, I do want to watch the second season, especially because the story still seems good, but it's missing the revenge and loathing aspect that made the first season so appealing. Because of that, I'm not sure if I'm going to follow the series all of the way through. I'll for sure try. But if it's just Naofumi being the big old softy and the other heroes being stupid and useless as always, then I don't know if it can be entertaining enough to keep my attention. Now, as for the biggest disappointment this season, I have to say it was Dawn of the Witch. I was expecting this to be a drama with some mystery all taking place in a fantasy setting. The protagonist is someone who has no memories of his past and can only remember that he enrolled into the Magic Academy 3 years ago. We learn that the world hasn't come to fully accept the existence of witches and magicians, so there are still witch hunts going on. The protagonist is given the task of going to one of these areas to spread the teaching of magic in order to help bridge the gap between the church and magicians. The reason he was chosen was because he struggled to control his magic and can't cast any spells. The purpose of this mission is to hopefully allow him to grow in a new environment. He has 3 years to train in this new location, and if he doesn't show any signs of improvement, he's going to be expelled and have his memories erased. Of course, the moment I heard he can't control his magic, it was obvious that it was because he had too much mana, since that is typically the case in these situations. Then we instantly had our first confrontation against a major enemy, which was resolved in only 1 episode. But it wasn't made clear that he was killed, so maybe he's still alive? Also, 2 episodes in, it was revealed that there was a traitor amongst them, and she didn't want to betray them, she was just forced into it. So I don't know, everything just felt rushed and artificial, especially in serious situations. They quickly blow through it in a way that doesn't feel satisfying. I don't know if that makes sense. Best way to describe it is probably cliche. Nothing felt original or unique. You expect the next thing that happened to happen. Even with the surprise of the betrayal, it's instantly diminished because, you know, A, she was forced into it, and B, she obviously wasn't going to betray the magicians. Predictability like that makes the show so boring and not really worth the watch, so I dropped it after only 2 episodes. Now for the anime that I mentioned earlier in the video. The fantasy series that did an OP protagonist right is the greatest demon lord born as a typical nobody. Here we have the most powerful mage in the world who was strong enough to defeat the evil gods who were tormenting humanity. His strength was so feared and revered that they gave him the title of Demon Lord. However, he wants to be considered a human and be treated like a normal person. As he currently is, he feels ostracized by his associates, so he decided to reincarnate himself as an average human named Ard Meteor. But he screwed up. He allowed himself to have some sort of skills, nothing overpowered but decent enough that he can handle himself in a fight. However, humanity as a whole became so much weaker than he could have ever imagined. It also doesn't help that him and the main heroine, his best friend, Irina Olhide, are both children of legendary heroes, and they are both exceptionally talented. But Ard is one step ahead, being able to use what is called lost skills, which are techniques that no one is capable of using anymore. So this is very similar to Misfit of Demon King Academy, where an overpowered demon lord comes back to life to wreak havoc. However, this series has that little comedic effect of the protagonist not realizing that he's OP and going around pulling off some crazy stunts like that one anime Dungeon Boonies. But this is closer to Demon King Academy but with a better story. The dialogue is also more entertaining as well. So in my opinion, Demon Lord as a typical nobody is so much better. Feel free to disagree, everyone is entitled to an opinion, even a wrong one. I'm just kidding! Maybe. Anyways, moving on to the last show I wanted to talk about this season. My favorite show currently airing right now. I called it my favorite underrated anime, and I don't mean just from this season. I mean of all time. I'm talking about Ascendance of a Bookworm Season 2. Now, I have been so hyped for this sequel, even more so than Spy X Family's anime adaptation. I watched the first season before I read the Spy X Family manga, so this has been a long time coming. For those of you who don't know, this is an isekai about a girl who loves reading books, and she ended up passing away after an earthquake caused her to be buried alive under a mountain of books. She awoke into this medieval world with a common family. They're not poor, but they're not living in luxury either. They're comfortable enough to live a decent life. However, the girl who is now called Mine is sickly. She has a weak constitution, so in order for her to hopefully get through this illness, she sought comfort in a book. But due to this being medieval times, books are a rare commodity. So the story follows our girl Mine as she tries to find or make books for her to read. At first, I likened this to an isekai Dr. Stone, with Mine creating paper and other common household items. But due to her creating things that people have never even seen, heard, or even conceived of, she began working with merchants to sell her goods. Thus, the story changed to be more economical, kind of like Spice and Wolf. And yes, that does include the romantic aspect in the minor fashion due to a boy named Lutz, who tries to help Mine through all of her endeavors. And if that doesn't pique your interest, the story then shifts into political, fantasy, and even psychological themes as well. And the addition of these themes and topics happens so smoothly that you can't even question why the story is changing its tone. It's just so natural. This is a product of great storytelling. The writer knew what he or she wanted to tell, and she tells it so well. Honestly, I don't know who wrote this, but okay, hold on. I want to look this up. Okay, so it's written by Mia Kazuki, and she had apparently been writing since she was in middle school. But she didn't start publishing until 2013, with the licensed publication coming in 2015. So it was only a webbook for 2 years before it gathered attention and gained official publication. And apparently she had founded a research group where she publishes essays surrounding libraries. Okay, so she has a passion for writing in libraries. You could already tell she was an experienced writer based on how Ascendance of a Bookworm progresses, but this was just above and beyond what I was imagining. Anyways, the story is constantly changing, so even if you don't like one part, wait a few episodes and the story will change. Honestly, this show needs more people talking about it because it's hands down one of the best animes out there. It's literally in my top 10 anime list. These were just some of the animes that I had seen this season, and all of them, except Dawn of the Witch, are worth investing your time into. The only other anime I would recommend that I didn't mention will be Kaguya-sama, but I wasn't expecting anything crazy from this season, so I didn't watch it yet. I figured I could wait and just binge watch it after the season ends, and not really miss anything important. That kinda goes for Komi-san as well, but I have higher hopes for Komi-san. If you like romantic comedies, then you would definitely enjoy these shows. Just be warned, the romance is not really a big factor in these series. There is more of an emphasis on the comedy instead. Hey there guys, I'm back. Thank you so much for watching through the video. It may be a little outdated by now, but the purpose of these types of videos is to introduce you, the viewer, to some anime that you may have skipped over this season. And if you're still undecided, then this is where I come in to tell you if my initial thoughts have changed or not. So in terms of which series is the best of the season, I have to say it was still Spy X Family. The comedy and action are just so well done, even with the filler scenes. They did exactly what I thought they would do, and added some parts to extend some short chapters into full-length episodes. There is also Ascendance of a Bookworm, which gets better and better with each episode. Demon Lord as a typical nobody became generic very quickly. It started taking itself way too seriously after 4 episodes, when it should have stuck to the goofy storyline it started with. Your boy Kwangming, Don't Hurt Me My Healer, and Skeleton Knight have been pretty consistent in terms of quality throughout the season. All in all, I still think this is probably the best season that we have had in the past year or so. There are multiple shows that are worth watching, and the ones that I mentioned throughout the video were just some of the ones that caught my attention. I'm sure there are other shows out there that are just as good. If there there are any other good shows coming out this season, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below and I'll be sure to check them out. And with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you in the next one, and remember, it's Spy X Family and Ascendance of a Bookworm is a top tier anime. Also remember to keep having fun. See ya!